Tonight, our team of reporters is fanned out across the state, bringing you coverage on this major breaking story.
Kyle Mitchell has reaction from Governor Whitmer tonight. Susan Samples is talking with the owner of a Grand Rapids shop that was raided last night by the FBI.
Joe LaFurgey and Lindsay McComel are breaking out the details about two West Michigan men caught up in this, charged up north where the attack was set to take place at the governor's vacation home. We're going to begin, though, with News 8's Whitney Burney with the disturbing details found in the court documents today. Whitney.
Well, Brian and Sue, News 8 obtained this affidavit early this morning. It really details the lengths that these men were willing to go to overthrow the governor. At one point, they talk about shooting up her Lansing home. Another, they talk about sending out bombs to multiple people and even attacking police officers. Police say this started with a group of men on social media. They met in person in Dublin, Ohio to discuss their frustration about the governor's COVID-19 response and devised a plan to violently overthrow her. They spoke about targeting local law enforcement officers at their homes. One of the militia members, spooked by the conversation, reached out to police and became an informant for the FBI. One of the ringleaders was Adam Fox from Grand Rapids, who was living here at the Vac Shack on 36th and Division, one of their meeting places. State officials spoke this afternoon about the months-long plan the men worked on to kidnap and possibly kill the governor.
All of us standing here today want the public to know that federal and state law enforcement are committed to working together to make sure violent extremists never succeed with their plans, particularly when they target our duly elected leaders.
An affidavit shows the men wanted to take Whitmer to an undisclosed location in Wisconsin and try her for treason. They also discussed shooting up her home, sending her a bomb, and attacking police facilities. Fox at one point said, quote, "I just want to make the world glow, dude. That's what it's going to take for us to take it back." From there, Fox and the others started making and testing explosives with shrapnel, meeting for training, and watching the governor's up north vacation home where they allegedly hoped to strike. The informant details one of the men saying, quote, "When the time comes, there will be no need to try and strike fear through presence. The fear will be manifested through bullets." Police say the men also had plans of blowing the M31 bridge in order to slow police response. Fox said, quote, "We're going to topple it all, dude. It's what great frickin' leaders, man. We're just going to conquer every effing thing, man." The men hoping to take the governor before the November election were set to pay for the explosive last night. Instead, their plan foiled and 13 arrested.
All of us in Michigan can disagree about politics, but those disagreements should never, ever amount to violence. Because of the hard work of the men and women of law enforcement, police officers, and federal agents, violence has been prevented today.
Police say all but one of those men was from the state of Michigan. All 13, though, are in custody and facing felony charges of conspiracy to kidnap, gang membership, and terrorism, among several others. Brian, Sue.
Yeah, Whitney, as we were speaking about earlier, I mean, the details in this, they were essentially stalking the governor.
Right. Yes. And her family up there.
Yeah.
At her vacation home as well. Whitney, thank you. Well, the governor gave her response to the arrest and the plot late this afternoon. News 8's Kyle Mitchell is live at the Capitol with what she had to say. Kyle?
Sue, Governor Whitmer made her remarks from her office here in Lansing, calling on everyone to condemn violence and hate.
But none of us.
Governor Whitmer called for unity as law enforcement officers arrested men accused of plotting to take her life.
I've said it many times. We are not one another's enemy. This virus is our enemy.
The governor thanking the law enforcement officers who worked on the investigation and gave a warning to those who break the law.
If you break the law or conspire to commit heinous acts of violence against anyone, we will find you. We will hold you accountable.
Governor, I guess the obvious first question to start out with, how are you and the family doing?
Tim Skubik from our sister station in Lansing spoke with the governor in a one-on-one interview after her remarks.
You chose your words very carefully, but you described these gentlemen who have been charged with conspiracy as sick and depraved. Why those two words, Madam Governor?
Well, Tim, these were people that have been plotting to blow up the Capitol, have been identifying and plotting to hurt and kill law enforcement, to kidnap and kill me, it appears. And so these are not the actions of, stable people. This is a depraved situation. It is incredibly violent. It is incredibly serious, and I don't think anyone can take it lightly. And I don't think that we should parse our words.
The governor called on the president and leaders in Washington to condemn radical militia groups.
Could you address the possible link, directly or indirectly, with the comments of the president and this personal incident in your family's life?
Well, I can say this, that words matter and actions matter. And leaders, whether it is at the state level or it is at the federal level or it is the local level, who fraternize with militia groups, who encourage them and give them comfort and incite them, are a part of what is happening in terms of the actions that played out today in the last 24 hours. And they are complicit. And every one of us needs to hold them accountable to that.
Kyle Mitchell reporting. Well, late this afternoon, presidential candidate Joe Biden was asked about the planned attack on the governor today.
Here's what he had to say before a campaign event in Phoenix.
The senator talked to Gretchen, to the governor, earlier before I landed, and I talked to her. She's feeling secure and good, and I think that the FBI and others deserve a great deal of credit for what they've done. Why can't the president just say, stop, 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 and we will pursue you if you don't, so stop.
And a response from the White House. Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany saying, quote, President Trump has continually condemned white supremacists and all forms of hate. Governor Whitmer is sowing division by making these outlandish allegations. America stands united against hate and in support of our federal law enforcement who stopped this plot. 3 of the 13 men charged today are from West Michigan, one of them from Grand Rapids.
Adam Fox was apparently one of the ringleaders of this entire plot. The FBI arrested him when they raided the Vac Shack on 36th and Division last night. Fox had been working and living there.
Target 8 investigator Susan Sample spoke with Fox's boss, a man who knows him well. Susan.
Inside this innocuous-looking vacuum shop, there is a basement, an unfinished basement, poorly lit. That is where federal agents say Adam Fox met at least once with militia members to plan. And last night, federal agents removed guns from his belongings here. We're told 2 assault rifles and a 9mm gun. The 37-year-old had been living in that basement, and his boss, the shop's owner, says Fox was increasingly mad at the government, mad at police, and afraid Democrats would take guns.
I tried to help this guy for all these years.
Brian Titus is heartbroken. He's known Adam Fox since Fox was a child in Potterville, had given Fox jobs off and on at Titus's shop, Vac Shack. And when Fox came to him in need again.
Him and his girlfriend broke up in Kalamazoo, and he came here homeless, and he had the 2 dogs. So I let him stay here.
Fox was living in the shop's basement, accessed through a utility closet and door in the floor. He had a bedroom down there, and Titus says a growing anger against the government, the mask mandate.
More on edge because of the lockdown. He always says it is against the Constitution for what's going on. Afraid they're going to start getting your Second Amendment rights, taking your weapons away.
Titus says he knew nothing of Fox's plan to kidnap Michigan's governor, but he got scared when the 37-year-old Fox started buying more guns and ammo. Did you know that he had weapons in here?
That's when I told him he had to get out of here 1 November, but still, it's not illegal to own a weapon. And I didn't know he had a plan. That's the first I'd known of it.
Titus did know that Fox had formed a militia. These are pictures from Fox's Facebook page. All of it made Brian Titus nervous, he says, and now he knows he had good reason. And he's worried that his effort to help a friend in need could cost him his business.
Marine veteran, 12 years. This is my life. I'm 60 years old. And this is really affecting me because there's more people out there. It's not just him. They're everywhere. And I just want folks to know it's safe to come here. I've owned it for 10 years.
He's worried, too, about Adam Fox's 2 dogs, one an emotional support animal for Fox's anxiety, says Titus. Titus says that Adam Fox's mom plans to take one of the dogs, but they'll be looking for a home for the other one. Titus says that Adam Fox did not talk about race and white supremacy, but he did speak often of Boogaloo and had Hawaiian shirts that he wore. That's the trademark of the alt-right Boogaloo movement. Titus said Fox described Boogaloo as the battle that would break out when the government tries to take away people's guns. Live at 36th and Division, Susan Samples, back to you.
Wow. And Titus also said that he'd known Fox since he was a small child, and that even his behavior over the past month or so was causing him great concern to the point where he didn't want him in the shop anymore.
Right, yeah. You can see that he was certainly nervous and rattled about what has come about in the investigation. Susan, thank you.
The other two men from West Michigan are brothers that have appeared on News 8 before. The Null brothers. They're both members of the Barry County-based Michigan Liberty Militia, a group that appeared heavily armed at several rallies at the Capitol this summer.
Our team coverage continues tonight. News 8's Joe LaFurgey and Lindsay McComel are both looking into these two men and their connection to this plot. We want to begin with Lindsay with a breakdown of what happened today in court. Lindsay.
Well, Sue and Brian, the Null brothers are two of the 4 people facing charges in Antrim County. That's where Whitmer's vacation home is located. Both face 1 felony count of providing material support to a terrorist or terrorist organization, as well as 1 count of felony firearm for being armed while committing the first felony. The men were arraigned from jail by Zoom this morning. The court documents associated with these charges say the Null brothers took part in surveilling the governor's vacation home in Antrim County near Traverse City, specifically that they, quote, provided assistance for a nighttime physical surveillance operation of the governor's vacation home as acting as lookouts. The judge gave the brothers a cash bond of $250,000 as well as strict conditions.
You cannot have any contact with Governor Whitmer and or her family. That's indirectly or directly. Do you understand that, Mr. Null?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the other 2 charged in Antrim County are Sean Fix and Eric Molitor. They're also accused of sitting on the governor's vacation home in order to assist terrorist acts. Back to you.
Okay, Lindsay McComel, thank you.
Joe LaFurgey visited the Nulls' homes in Barry and Allegan counties.
He continues our live team coverage tonight. Joe?
In this home along 9 Mile Road, just east of Martin, is where William Null lives with his family. It was about 8 o'clock last night when this quiet stretch of roadway along the Barry-Allegan County line in blue police cruiser lights.
I didn't know what the police were doing down there. They had the road blocked all off.
We just couldn't figure it out what was going on.
Turns out the police presence was part of the investigation into the Null brothers. No one came to the door at William Null's home or Michael's home near Plainwell. But the Null brothers have been on Channel 8 before. Both appeared in Jacqueline Francis's July profile of the Barry County-based Michigan Liberty Militia, a group who made their presence known by showing up heavily armed at various protests, including some at the state capitol. Under fire and misunderstood was the theme the group tried to sell, describing themselves as peacekeepers out to preserve and protect the rights of citizens.
Some of the events that we're at, we don't really actually don't even agree with, but as constitutionalists, you have the right to protest as long as you're peaceful.
But it was at about that same time, prosecutors claim, the brothers were plotting violence as part of the effort to kidnap the governor, something William Null's neighbors, who only knew him in passing, were shocked by.
I still can't believe it. I mean, when we talked to him, he just seemed to be a normal, pretty nice fella.
Now, if you were watching News 8 at 5, we talked a little bit about that fence in front of William Null's home. It is steel. It goes across the entire front of his property. There is some speculation among neighbors, though, the actual fence, which just went up a couple of days ago, is there more to conceal some of the items behind it, heavy equipment and other things that have been stored in that yard, as opposed to concealing some sort of illegal act. We're live tonight near Martin. Joe LaFurgey, News 8.
Striking the front that they were putting up in that interview over the summertime while allegedly undertaking this plot.
That's right. Yeah. all part of it. Joe, thank you. Our entire newsroom continues to work every angle of this story. Make sure and look for continued coverage tonight at 7 o'clock, later at 10 and 11 as well. You'll always find breaking news first over on woodtv.com.